Welcome to another edition of Through My Lens. I'm your host, Karen Jackson. And Through My Lens podcast is an opportunity for me to sit down, to talk to, and to learn from individuals who have not let their setbacks, circumstances, or their challenges define who they are and what they can accomplish. And I'm so excited to kick off my 2024 season. The title is Strength for the Struggle. And I came to that title because over the last several years, I've experienced a lot of deaths, including my brother and sister who died just weeks apart. And that really did something to me. And I realized that I had been just going and moving, but I had to take a little time to find the strength to keep moving and keep going and do the things that I know that my brother and sister would have wanted me to do and what have God has called me to do. And so I just took a little time to reflect and to spend some time self-caring with myself. And what I did was I wrote during this time. And the thing that it taught me as I wrote about all the things I was experiencing, I realized that I was not alone. And as I started to share my story with others, I realized I was not alone. So this year is focused on how do we find strength for the challenges, for the struggles that we face, because we're all going to face them. It's just a part of life. And so I am bringing individuals who I believe are great examples of showing how to find strength through the various struggles we face, whether it's personal, emotional, mental, or even if it's in business. And so I'm so excited to have today Miss Juanita Michelle Darden, owner of Third Perk, and she's an author, and she's just doing it all. And so I'm so happy to have you with me today.
Thank you, Karen. I'm so excited to be here with you. So, thank you for the invitation.
Great, great. So I want to just take a few minutes. And so for those who may not know who Miss Perfect Miss Juanita Michelle is, tell my audience a little bit about who you are.
So, I am Juanita Michelle. I created Third Perk Coffee House and Wine Bar. We started working on the plan in 2013. The doors of the coffee house actually opened in 2015. And for 8 years, we worked at serving the community in Dayton, Ohio. Just recently, I decided to shift um, my operations. We have closed down our traditional coffee house. We have closed down our express locations. And in 2024, you will see Third Perk resurge as a drive-through model. Uh, when we talk about sustainability, the coffee house model was not sustainable for me any longer. With the rise in competition in downtown Dayton and with the lack of bodies coming into downtown Dayton, it just is not a sustainable model today. So we are moving into West Dayton where there is a need. Uh, we will be as far as specialty coffee, we will be a unicorn, and a drive-through model. I think is going to be spot on.
That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
That's a great idea because many of us, we want our coffee on our way to work or on our
Yeah,
way to meetings. And so I think that's a great idea.
yes,
Can you tell us a little bit more about where we could find this new location, or is that top secret?
absolutely. So in 2020, I found 3907 West Third Street.
Okay.
And when I found that little gym, I decided that I wanted to turn that space into what I'm calling the soul food carryout. So it would be a space where you could come and get your delicious soul food. Uh, we are preparing traditional favorites in a healthier fare. We won't be your fried chicken joint. We won't be frying any I think we're only doing maybe wings maybe once a week as far as like a traditional fried wing because Dayton, the west side of Dayton is inundated with wings. So we wanted to make sure that we were providing something again that was just healthier options of food that we love, delicious, flavorful foods, and I actually purchased that building in 2022, and uh, we have put a lot of money into that building. We have had many resources poured into that building. New roof, new parking lot, plumbing. The last step is our electrical, and then we should be moving forward to opening in February. So, with everything that we've done, there's a partnership with Chef Mark Brown. He is a Daytonian. He is a world class chef, and he's coming home to be a part of this project, which I am so grateful for. But
Absolutely.
this building was built to be a bank. So there was a little cove on the
Mm,
west side of the building. So after my mind got clear, I was like, that would be an excellent place for you to put an express coffee model where people could just drive up. So that's what we're providing. We're providing a drive-through option in a space that we own. Because another thing, when you're talking about sustainability efforts, ownership is imperative when we're speaking of sustainability. Being in control of your everything is
mhm.
imperative when we're talking about sustainability. Um, there will be no more making something successful and then rents increase or renegotiating leases. Um, we will have full control over what's going on in our space.
That is awesome. And that is such a great point.
Yeah,
When you're the owner, you can make the decisions that you don't have
oh,
to ask someone to make the decision, right?
absolutely. So having two businesses under one roof, two businesses operating again separately but under one roof with one mortgage,
Yes.
that's a hallelujah dance right there.
Absolutely. And to have Mark Brown
Oh, absolutely,
just
absolutely.
top of the line, just awesome. So, but you now you're gonna have to explain to me a little bit. So, I know that Mark does a lot of high scale kind of meals, uh,
Yeah,
cooking for celebrities and all that. Explain
yeah.
to me how that fits with the coffee shop.
Well, no, it doesn't fit with the coffee shop. So
Okay.
Mark is going to head what we are calling the soul food carryout. So the soul
Mm,
food carryout, he is going to that's his lane.
okay.
He's not so much. Um, he's not so much. I'm sorry, I'm on tape. Um, he's not so much operating the coffee house.
Mhm.
He is going to be ensuring that the soulful carry out
The
foods is doing what they do.
Okay. Okay, I
um,
got you now. So
so
soul food, carry out, and drive-through coffee house.
yes, so
Okay,
Third Perk will be operating independently of the
correct.
soul food carry out. So, but under one roof.
I got you. I
Yes,
got you.
yes,
So talk to me a little bit. I heard you mention a couple of times about sustainability and foot traffic, or the lack thereof in downtown Dayton.
yes,
Um, Talk to me a little bit about, I know that there had to be some struggles over the years as you were trying to sustain this model. What is the what's the one thing that you would say is the greatest lesson that you've learned from those struggles?
The greatest lesson that you learn is that it's okay to change. It's okay, somebody grab the ball and you pivot, or you make a dynamic shift. So in 2015, when Third Perk opened, we were I'm gonna say we were the only urban coffee house. We were the only coffee house that was really catering to um, Dayton's music culture, the rich music culture that Dayton has. We were catering to the artistic side of Dayton. We were really just when I created Third Perk as a space for myself, a space where I wanted to be, where I could meet my friends, where I could have a good time. That was my goal in creating Third Perk.
Mhm.
Um, that was 2015. When Third Perk opened, we were a unique place to have events. So we had a revenue stream that included rentals. We were the pharmaceutical reps' friends, so we had many pharmaceutical reps that chose us for meals. Uh, we did catering for schools. We did a variety of things in 2015. We were also a space for poetry. So some poets that are traveling the country were doing some dynamic things at the coffee house when we first opened. So there was a lot for us because we sat as the only. So when you fast forward to COVID and you have more options, you have several coffee houses in downtown Dayton. Where when we opened, it was ourselves. Boston Stoker was first. Boston Stoker, we came in, and then on the outside of downtown Dayton, you had Ghostlight,
Mhm.
Press. You had several on Wayne Avenue's coffee strip, because that's a coffee strip.
Mhm.
um, but now that we're in operation, downtown Dayton, I could run to the north of Third Perk on St. Clair and find a coffee house. I can run to the south of Third Perk on St. Clair and find a coffee house without being winded. So the businesses are popping up too close.
Mhm.
There's a Starbucks now in downtown Dayton that opened right across the street from Boston Stoker, and Boston Stoker closed shortly after Starbucks
Mhm.
arrived. So, for me, it was kind of painful because Boston Stoker was in place when there was no development in downtown Dayton. There was nobody seeking to do a lot of business in downtown Dayton. And, the Giant came in after things got hot and put their fire out. So I feel a little way about that, but we live in a capitalistic society, so there's no rules for them not to do that.
Right.
But when I think of a hometown native who got started down there and was a space for people to meet and have coffee, uh, it's a little hurtful for me. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And I think that what you just said is so critical, is that, in business, to be successful, sometimes you have to pivot, right? Sometimes you
yes,
have to change. And what that sounds like to me, but just based on what you said, which is, I think, part of what we have to do as business owners, we have to, be aware of the environment that we operate in. What is happening outside of our environment? And how does that impact our business? How does that impact the customers that come into our business? Because I think
hmm
that has a lot to do with, when we can look at those things realistically. That doesn't mean you weren't successful. It just means you have to pivot. And sometimes we all have to change sometimes, right, in order to be successful.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. There was a lot of things that I did that were great, that were innovative, that were
Mhm.
dynamic. And then there was some things, I got a whole list of things that I could have did better, you know. But I feel like if you're going to be in business, you have to be um, brave enough to do your own SWOT analysis. You have to be brave enough to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Because if you don't seriously and critically look at those items, then you are holding your own. You know, we have to be able to understand how we can get better. We
Mhm.
have to. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what you said too is with the whole SWOT analysis. I mean, I think it's critical to be a leader, to be in business. You have to be willing to look at your opportunities and your obstacles, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes those obstacles can actually be opportunities to do something different. And that's what it
Oh,
sounds like.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, well, you can't go over the mountain. Well, you might not be able to go through the mountain, but it's like take your butt around the mountain. Like you have to find another way. But if you act like the mountain's not there, you're just standing on the other side trying to figure out what's going to
Mm,
be, how do I get over there? Or, but you can't, it's just not, I don't want to say it's not good. I don't want to say it's not healthy because if you're content on that one side of the mountain, fine, stay there. So I try not to impart my views, my opinions on someone else's happiness.
mhm,
And that is very important. As
mhm,
we sit and we observe people on this side, it's like if they're happy, if
mhm.
they have found a level of contentment, if they're satisfied, then you are not the one to be giving them advice on why they should move. It's like, no,
Absolutely.
let them be there because I take an ounce of happiness over a whole bunch of stuff, anything else. Happiness is so
Absolutely.
key. So, as we are all working towards building our happiness, finding our happiness, you have to be in control of what that is that makes you happy, because I think that will help you whether you're shifting, you're pivoting, or anything else. If you're happy with a stop, then stop. If you're happy with let me push pause, rethink this thing, do that. If you're happy with I'm going to create a better plan and be back, do that. But whatever it is, I think the happiness is the goal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's so critical because I think when you're happy, that means you're fulfilling your purpose, whatever that purpose is for you. And
Mm.
everybody's purpose is different. And I like what you said, not trying to impart your thoughts and how you see things on others.
Right.
I think it's great to give people another perspective, but at the end of the day, it's their decision and it's what makes them happy that I think is the most critical.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the crazy thing about it, and this is even like being a parent. As a parent, we have the things that we want our children to do, and we have dreams for our children. And sometimes our dreams are for our children are bigger than what they dream for themselves. And then
Mhm.
sometimes our children's dreams are better than what we could think of for them. But
Right.
either case, I think it's very important for us to be respectful of other people's boundaries and what they want to do. Because if it's not their vision, if it's not their dreams, then we shouldn't be putting our things on other people.
Absolutely. That's so true.
Yeah.
So tell me, over the years, what would be one piece of advice? I know you probably could give mountains and mountains of advice, but what one piece of advice would you give someone who was wanting to get into business or maybe had an idea and but didn't quite know what that next step would be? What advice would you give them?
So if you're interested in pursuing a business that is already existing, start scoping them out. Start doing the research. Start watching what they do. Start understanding what you could do, like what they're doing, but understanding what you could do or how you could do it better. If that business doesn't exist, then understand how to put a system together to make that business exist. You have to use local resources. I myself, when I got serious about really going to create a business plan, because I Third Perk wasn't my first rodeo. So when I was going to create a business plan that I felt like if I'm gonna put my money over here, then I want my money to work. I went to one of a business counselor that I trusted, and she led me to the Small Business Development Center. And I still have a relationship to this day with the Small Business Development Center. When I started out in 2013, the entrepreneur ecosystem in Dayton, Ohio was just a fraction of what it is actually today.
Hmm.
Today, that baby is a whole beast. You know, the
Yes,
entrepreneurial ecosystem in Dayton, Ohio is a whole beast. There's
yes, it is.
plenty of resources. Um, there's money resources that didn't exist when I was starting out in 2013. So, you know, there are plenty of things that are available for those who are seeking. Yeah.
Well, and so it just sounds like what like you said, if they're interested in starting a business or maybe revamping a business that they had at one point, is to do the
Hmm.
research and look and see
Absolutely.
what resources are out there.
Absolutely. You have to do the work. Like, you know, and people talk about like the notion of an overnight success, or
Hmm.
the notion of, oh, it just sprouted up. It's like, well, usually, you know, those overnight success stories are years in the making. You know, even for me, I started my planning in 2013. My business opened in 2015. So I
Hmm.
didn't just say I'm going to open up a coffee house and then 3 weeks
Right.
later there came a coffee house. That's not what happened. You know,
Hmm.
there was thought put behind it. There was money that was saved and raised. So it wasn't a matter of, you know, let's just pop, pop, pop and do it. It was not that. It was not that at all.
Hmm.
So um, we have to make sure that, like I said, you put work behind it. You know, you put work
Hmm.
behind it to make it work. Um,
Absolutely.
yes, and a business plan. You know, I have some people that I know who didn't create a business plan, and they've seen millions of dollars flow through their business. You know, and then you have others who don't have a clue where to start, where to go, and everything in between. For me, I feel like when I my business plan was necessary for me, because at the end of the day, usually once a year I go through and I'll read my business plan, and a lot of times it's like you're just going through. At this point, it's a history book. At this point, it's like, okay, this happened, that happened, that happened. But many times when I go through that book, it reminds me of things that I should have been doing, things that I strayed
Hmm.
away from, and it
Yeah.
puts me back on track. So I'm thankful for it, because it is a great reference point that puts me back into the spaces that I need to be, or reminds me of things that, or like different uh, initiatives or different things that I wanted to be able to do, promotions, anything. It reminds me of all those things. So it just, it's always good to have it to go back again and reflect on.
I love that because the reality is that, in the Bible it says, write your vision, make it plain, right?
Yes,
And
yes, yes.
if you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you got there, right? How do
No,
you know when you were successful?
you
And I think
don't.
you don't. And I think it's critical, like you said, that it just reminds you of the things that you need to be doing or you need to continue to be working on. Because
Right.
sometimes we can just, somebody comes in with a great idea. We're like, oh, yeah, that's great. And then it has nothing to do really with the plan that we have, and it takes us off
Oh
task.
my goodness. You know, I've had people say, you should be doing CBD oil in your coffee and you should be doing this in your coffee. And I'm like, well, that's really not my brand. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
I am the perky barista because it's just who I am. It's not because I'm adding something to my coffee other than the natural caffeine that's in there. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? So
absolutely.
me, you know, I had some people say, well, in the evening you need to have hookah. And I'm like, well, I'm not really a smoking kind of girl. That's not my brand. So I came into Third Perk as a college educator. I came into a Third Perk as a veteran from Dayton Public Schools. I came into Third Perk as a woman who cared about other women, specifically single mothers. Um, so those things, and then I came into Third Perk as a mom who didn't want her kids smoking. So it's
Mhm.
like, so those are the things that you have to consider when you're giving advice of what someone
Mm.
should do. And I'm a
Absolutely.
grandmother, so
Right.
and here's the thing: I'm not stereotyping any of those things. You know what I'm saying? Because what people do is their business. But I did not want to wear it as a tattoo on my arm to
Absolutely.
symbolize what I do in my business. So that's why it didn't exactly work with what I wanted to do with my
Right.
coffee house.
Well, as a marketing person, I will tell you, I mean, that's critical. That's part of the planning process, right? Is to know your brand and stay true to your brand, right?
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
to, be swayed by, and not that it's anything wrong with that. And I'm not, and
Because
I'm like you, you
yeah,
know, it's
because that's
back to
not what I'm
everybody
saying.
has a different purpose, right? Everybody
Yeah,
has a different purpose. Everybody, their business, the purpose for their business is different. So it's just about knowing your brand and staying true to your brand. I think that's what
absolutely.
continues to make you a success.
Thank you.
So tell me, we're about almost out of time, but I wanted to ask you. I always try to end with this question, especially for women. Research suggests that by the age of 9, we have already started to develop uh, how we feel about ourselves, what we think about ourselves, our capabilities, our talents. And so, what would you say to that 9-year-old little girl?
Mm. So, whew, if I had a chance to go back and talk to the 9-year-old me, um, wow, I would say a lot of stuff to her. Um, I would tell her that she can sing loud if she wants to. I would tell her that she is the star of the show. I would tell her that she was bright, beautiful, and intelligent.
Mm,
I would tell her that the Lord loved her and He would
yeah,
always be there to protect her.
wow.
I would tell her to take the risk, and I would tell her it is okay for you to raise your hand and answer questions. You are smart
Absolutely.
and you are right.
Not
I,
you, not just you smart, but you right.
I would tell her all of that, because a lot of times I would shy away from giving the answers, and a lot of times I would not take the risk. I was afraid, and um, and when you do that, then you start living in that world of fear. Then
Mhm.
you have to rediscover yourself all over again because you were afraid to make kid chances. So even as adults, you know, you have to learn how to get yourself back or get up on a horse and ride it. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I just wonder how I would have felt if I felt like I was that person or that little girl.
Mhm.
Um, how what my life would look like today if she knew those
Absolutely.
things. Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I think we all, when we think, that's why I asked that question, because we all was in a different space at that time, right? And no matter whether our parents were trying to, encourage us and tell us who we were,
but it
it's
but it was different. It's like we
yes.
weren't so 1980, because I was 9 years old in 1980.
Hmm.
1980 for this little brown girl is not the same as 2023
Amen.
for any other brown girl. You know what
Amen.
I'm saying?
Hmm.
Uh, Life is different. Like we have many women in our family who are who live with vitiligo. Is it vitiligo that affects the skin? Am I saying that?
Mhm.
So those women have, they have skin diseases and they have things that are going on with them. And now that's celebrated through models. Like you have models who are wearing that
Mhm.
proudly,
Absolutely.
where, when, decades ago, they just helped you cover it up. They just helped you
Absolutely.
even up the skin. And now it's a
Mhm.
celebrated beauty. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? So,
Absolutely.
so the things that you would tell a little girl in the 1980, and the thing that little girls understands today are like apples and oranges.
Absolutely.
However, we still live in America and we still live in a society where, you know, people of color are not treated with equality. So we
Mhm.
still live in that society, but I just feel like we are so much more empowered to love ourselves, to embrace
Mhm.
ourselves. We
Mhm.
understand our culture. We understand where we came from. We understand that knowledge is in us and all around us. So we have all of these wonderful tools. So now now it's like use it. I don't know what I would be if I was my mama. My mother was a woman who was full of love, and she showed her love.
Mhm.
And but my mother grew up at a time where she couldn't even say the name of her body parts, honey. She be
Mm.
pointing it. So when that's your mama, when that's your mama, then there's some things that you have to learn that it's okay for you to do.
Mhm.
She didn't give you permission to do it or say it, but you understand that these are things I can say. It's like you can say vagina.
Right.
The world
Right.
ain't crack. The Lord ain't you know, you can say those words. It's okay.
Right.
But she was so uncomfortable with doing that. So I celebrate her when I say things, because a lot of things she just wasn't empowered to say. So, but she is a woman who was born in 1931,
Mhm.
and she was born, she was the first of, she was the second daughter of a husband and a wife who bore 15 children, honey.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so there wasn't, grandmama was popping out babies where,
Mhm. Mhm.
so she wasn't given that TLC,
Mhm.
because grandmama was popping out babies.
I understand.
So, so a lot of things she just didn't have. But I
Mhm.
mean, but we don't
Yeah.
blame for that. That's
Right.
just what it was for her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just learned how to do things better.
Right. And I think that's a great way to explain that, because the reality is, as times change,
Mm-hmm.
you will say things different to a different generation. Not that some of those key lessons are not still taught, right? But you do have to change, as we said before, you do have to change in how you deliver some of those messages and what you say. Because I
Yeah.
think that's critical for them to be able to relate that to their time.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am.
I am so happy that you took a little time out of your busy schedule to come and sit down and talk to us about everything that's going on with Miss Juanita Michelle. And I wanted to ask you one more time, just tell us what can, if they want to, because I know we hadn't had a chance to mention your book,
Oh, yes. We
right?
we just published what we call the People's Coffee House. This celebrates the very first coffee house that people knew and loved at 46 West Fifth Street. It is packed with wonderful stories, not just of myself, but we had several customers um, share their experiences about how they felt about the coffee house. There's poems, there's pictures. It's just a lot of, I I love it. I love it. I love doing it. It took us 3 years to put it together, so it wasn't a rush thing. Although I felt like I was rushing it. It wasn't a rush product, but it is. It is such a testament of what a community, just how a community felt about a business,
Absolutely.
and yeah, it's a lot of love in there. A lot
It
of love.
is. It is. And I will tell you, as I looked through the book, um, and started to read it, it touched me because, when did my conference and kicked off my annual conference, I
Okay.
did it right there. I did our red carpet reception right there at the coffee house. And
Yeah.
so I went back and looked at those pictures and looked at that time, and it was just a great time. And I've had several people that I was doing marketing for that had books that had events at that location. So
Yes.
it really, really was a great opportunity to not just be amongst, coffee lovers and all that good stuff and family and community, but really, really impacting the community. So we appreciate you, Miss Juanita, Miss
Thank
Perky.
you.
I have to put that in there.
That's your favorite perky barista.
There you go. There you go. I do have one more question. So the coffee, because you mentioned, and I would be remiss if we didn't touch on this. A lot of your names of your coffee are focused on some of the music traditions of Dayton, Ohio. Can
And
that be?
authors, because we have
Yeah.
our like our Dunbar, and of course it's Dunbar Blue, baby. So I graduated from Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School in 1989, and when we opened our coffee house, we opened with everything was with a purpose. So I honored Lakeside. Lakeside was my late brother David's favorite band.
Mhm.
And I remember riding around with David in this big green Cadillac Coupe de Ville, okay? Riding around with David, and he's playing that Fantastic Voyage 8 track, okay? He's playing the 8 track. But
The
I
A-track.
remember, I know that whole album, that Fantastic Voyage album of Lakeside. I know the entire album, okay, word for word. But then we had the Dunbar named because I have a love for my high school. We had the Sugarfoot. You know, my father-in-law is one of the members of Ohio Players. And the Sugarfoot just sounds so sweet, girl. You know, a little chocolate, little caramel, and that latte, baby.
Yes, yes.
Um, we named our heat wave is named after the after one of our bands, including Johnny Wilder with his smooth
Mhm,
voice. Oh
mhm,
my God! But the
mhm.
heat wave is our signature hot chocolate, which people love. And then we have our Zap baby. Now that Zap is gonna do just that. So our Zap and our Dunbar is very similar because both had a combination of dark chocolate and white chocolate. Just make you just that chocolatey, creamy, fantastic drink. But the Zap offered an extra shot of espresso because you
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
Zap you. So over the years, we did add a few additional drinks to our lattes. But the bag that I'm showing you here, this is a flavored coffee, not a latte, of course, but this is a flavored latte that people can actually order from our website, and hopefully these bags of coffee will be coming to a grocery store near you very soon.
Okay, that sounds good. And
we
Dunbar is my favorite.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
People love the Dunbar. But one of the best things about what when we're coming back, people will be able to come and enjoy our delicious coffees in a drive-through model. So there's no excuses about weather any longer. You can come on in because we're gonna be there. So I'm very excited that that's going to be a part. of our, you know, our shifts.
All
So
right.
yes, and hopefully I'll be giving you information soon on where you can buy these beautiful, delicious, robust bags of coffee.
Is that your, yes, your commercial? That's your pitch?
Well, I don't know. It just came. It just came.
Oh, it has been a treat to sit and talk to you and to learn from you. And I'm so excited about this new chapter, and I'm looking forward to it. You're gonna have to come back when you're ready to do your grand
I
debut.
love
And
to. I love to. I love to. Or you can come out. We'll make sure that we
yes,
invite you to the festivities as we get ready to launch.
I love that. Look, and I'll bring my camera so we can do some live interaction.
Yay, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just thank you for all of your contributions to the community and to women in general. You didn't even talk about your Shiro storytelling series.
We can be on for a whole nother
I
hour.
know.
Have
You're
you
going to have
back
to come back.
for Women's History Month.
Okay. Let's plan to do that. Let's plan to do
All
that.
right. All right.
Thank you so much and continue blessings and success. And I look forward to our next chat.
All right. See you later.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.